All right, Jordan, so I want to talk really quickly about the box squat and the main things, A, that I think you're going to notice about your squat, and B, kind of the principles of what we're looking for here and how we're going to make this kind of translate to a lot of different things. And the number one thing is basically the relationship between your pelvis and your lumbar spine. So what I'm looking for is that basically, this is Jonathan, he looked, but he didn't, he said hi, but you couldn't tell. So I'm looking for basically what is going on between the lumbar spine and the hip. And in theory, this relationship shouldn't change. So as we set up, and we're going to talk about more of this later, but what we want to all focus on is basically squeezing your butt as hard as you can, right? And keeping your rib cage as tight as you can. And if you do that, nothing is going to change. That relationship is going to stay the same. Now, as soon as you go to squat, what you might notice is that your butt, your glute max, the kind of main part of your butt, is going to turn off. But you can keep the minor muscles of the glute, the glute med, right, which are kind of run along the corner of the butt there, tight. And the way you have to do that is by driving your knees out as hard as possible. So Jonathan's going to do about 2, maybe 3 box squats. And I'm going to back up. And what I want you to notice is that relationship doesn't change. And he's going to work on keeping his shins perpendicular. So we talked about that perpendicular shin, but that's not necessarily the end of the game. Really, that's kind of secondary to keeping your back tight. So we've got a box. It's a 12-inch box, plus I think about 6 inches, so 18 inches. It should be just below his knee, but the box height to me at this point doesn't really matter. All I'm interested in is the position of his back and his hips. So he's going to go really, really slow, and we're going to try and focus on what his back is doing as he squats. So Jonathan, whenever you're ready, so he gets nice and tight, and he's squatting PVC, so it's not that hard. But you can see that doesn't really change. He sits back, right, and then he comes back up nice and slow, and he initiates that movement by driving out, not by driving up, right? So he'll do another one, and we're going to watch his shin, and hopefully that shin angle is not going to change at all. Not too bad. And he comes back up, and you can tell again that back's not changing. So now we'll get from the front, and I want you to watch what he does with his knees. Right, you see his knees are driving way out, so far out that I can't even get it on camera, which is awesome. And I've got a huge crotch shot, so that's nice. And then back up, right? So that's kind of our box squat. Now, I understand this is kind of ideal at conditions. Jonathan, how's your butt feel?
So tired.
So tired. So that's kind of the goal. I mean, that's really where you should feel it. And Jonathan, point to the part of your butt that you feel it the most in. Bam, right? Like right in that corner. That's really where we're focusing. That's what's going to keep the hips stable. So Jonathan's going to kind of do a couple bad ones, and this is what you kind of suffer from with your deadlift, is that you get a ton of spinal and hip movement. And it's really your hips are shutting off, and they're overextending, and when he does that, so Jonathan, go ahead and overextend for me really hard, right? And you can see that tilt, and then come back to normal, and then do it again. And when that happens, what you're basically doing is you're tying your hamstring, I can't point on camera, there we go. Your hamstring's attached to your sit bone, so they're getting pulled tight, but so are your erectors, right? And basically what happens is your butt completely goes off, so your butt's not doing any work at all. So as he squeezes his butt, he'll come back to neutral. So what he's going to work on, he's going to show you what it looks like when you initiate with your hips, right? So this is one of the problems when people say sit back, right, is when they sit back, the first thing they do is actually tilt their pelvis forward, wham, and you can see that even his skin is bunching up there, and he's got overextended, and then he's going to reverse on the box, and then he's going to overextend to stand and come up. So what you might notice is as he does it, sorry, he's getting tired now. As you do it really fast, right, if you squat really fast, and this is why I want you at that slow tempo, even if you maintain it down, one of the hardest parts to maintain